So we're at 10 o'clock here, folks, so we're going to get going. So we're going to start with a little bit of background on the program, but I'm going to try and keep that as simple as possible because we only got 30 minutes to get the first lesson through here. So what it was is about 20 years ago, we found a body of research that stated that everything in a human is related to their energy levels. The depth that they can think, their ability to problem solve, their physical capacity, their emotional capacity, all of it depends on the amount of energy they have in a moment. And so we started working on this work, put somewhere in the neighborhood of 19,000 hours of research, study, programs, testing it out in different work environments, a lot of executives, to come to the point where we had a workable way to increase people's capacity. From there, unfortunately, we wasted a lot of time trying to help rich and powerful people change the world. And we found that, well, the more we help them, the more they help themselves. And then about a year ago, a forward-thinking executive in the healthcare industry brought us in to develop a program that was specifically to make caregivers, healers, heroes, our police and firefighters stronger. And this program is what we've been running for the last year, and we're pretty excited to be able to invite you into it and see what we can do together. Basically, it works on the premise that there's 5 aspects to every human that affect their performance. So what this is your environment, what's happening on around you in any given time, the way you're feeling, if you're in a negative mood, a positive mood, your electrochemical balance, your physical capacity, things like caffeine, hydration, food, carbohydrates, what your fuel is in your body, how recently you've moved. We're human beings, we're not human sittings. We're meant to be out and moving and enjoying everything around us. So how recently you've moved and which part of the brain you're thinking on. Now, what we're going to be doing over the course of this year is one by one addressing these aspects to capacity so that when you balance them, you end up geometrically stronger as a person. Now, why is this important? Well, who we are as a person is completely related to how much energy we have. So you're the best version of yourself when you have energy. Take this. When you're fully recharged, when you had a great night's sleep, you've got some good food in your belly, you're with friends, you're feeling amazing, what sort of person are you? You're naturally compassionate. You're naturally energetic. You don't fight with the people around you. You're happy. You're able to problem solve. And when somebody says something that's maybe a little bit passive aggressive, it bounces right off you. Why? Because you have energy. Now, what happens when you're bagged? What happens when you're tired? What happens when you've given everything all day long? Well, a stupid little comment and you can rage at somebody very close to you, maybe a family member or a child. You're easily angry, you're easily jealous, you assume things instead of thinking deeply. So who you are as a human is directly related to how much energy you have. Now, one of the problems is as a human, you didn't come with a gas gauge. You don't have some kind of thing sitting right on your forehead that says empty. So everybody knows you're tired. So everybody knows you're going to be grumpy. So everybody knows you went through something to put you in that state. So what do? Well, we've got a simple little lesson that we've developed to help people understand their energy in a moment, to understand how strong they are, to understand what their tendencies are going to be in the moment. Now, we do this with 10 pennies. I got 10 pennies here. But it also would work if you have an app. There's a lot of simple counters available on Google and the iStore that are free. Anything that allows you to count to 10. And what we're going to use this to do is start to build an internal gas gauge so we know where our energy levels are at. And then when we know where our energy levels are at, we can know how to plan our day. Because remember, if you've got a lot of energy, you're going to be caring, you're going to be compassionate, you're going to be able to connect to people around you, you're not going to take offense, you're going to be able to think deeply. But on the other hand, when you've got no energy, you're going to be grumpy, you're going to be hard to get along with, you're going to fight with everybody, you're not going to be able to think well, your clinical outcomes are going to go down. So we need to be able to start to track where we are in the moment. So whether you're using an application on your phone or 10 physical pennies, for my Canadian peeps, use nickels. We don't have pennies anymore. They deleted them in Canada, so they're actually hard to come by now. So for the Canadians in the room, grab yourself some nickels or some dimes. They're worth about the same as an American penny anyway. So how does this work? So in the morning, when you wake up, what we want you to do is rate how you're doing on a scale of 1 to 10. How are you feeling today? So take into consideration, did you sleep last night? Are you dehydrated? Were the kids up? Was the dog barking? Did you get called to solve an issue at the hospital, at the station in the middle of the night? Did you overwork yourself the day before? Factor everything in that's going on in your life. And in the morning, rate how you're doing on a scale of 1 to 10. So just in the back of your mind right now, think about, okay, what was your day like yesterday? How did you sleep? How are you feeling? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself this morning? Feel free to type it in if you want on there so I can see how you're at. How are you feeling this morning? A 6. Lori, a 9. Super Lori, rocking their Saturday morning. 5. Josh, Jared. See, that's where most people start their morning. And this is a Saturday, right? So a lot of times on a Friday morning or a Thursday morning, people are quite a bit lower. So 8 for Christos. Josh, what did you say? Lori is always at 9. Yeah, she is. She is. That's good stuff. So take how you're feeling in the morning, in the moment, and rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. So most of you have those down there for you right now. 5, 6s, 8s. Now what you want to do is take the number of pennies that you were feeling. So let's say a 5 or a 6. Let's say a 6. Open my book here. So say you start the day at a 6. We got 6 pennies in our right hand, 4 pennies in our left. We put them in our pocket. Now, they're in our pocket. We know we're starting the day with 6. Now, anytime something happens that takes your energy, move a penny from your right pocket to your left. So you start to understand what's taking your energy throughout the day. What are some things that knock a lot of people down? Well, guilt. If you feel guilt over something you should have done, you feel you should have done, or somebody's put you in a state of guilt, that can take you from a 7 or 8 penny moment all the way down to a 2 penny moment in a matter of minutes. So if you work with people who are passive aggressive, they try to make you feel like you're not all that you should be, or you should constantly be doing more, that you're never enough. Those people are going to be knocking you down to 2 pennies very quickly. What's another thing that can get you down? Compassion. So all deep connecting qualities like love, compassion, gratitude. These are things that caregivers live on. They're things that everybody needs from them, but they're all deep cognitive activities. As a matter of fact, if you were to display compassion or gratitude or love to somebody at a really high level, it uses nearly 50% of your body's blood sugar and 30% of your blood oxygen levels just to process those feelings. So while it's amazing to be a compassionate caregiver, while it helps a lot of people out, every time you help somebody, every time you deeply engage with somebody to make them feel better, it takes a little something from you and makes you more tired. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is every time you expend energy, it has a byproduct. So when you have positive pennies, so you're feeling good, you're feeling grateful, you're feeling compassionate, and you help somebody, what happens is it builds a negative energy in you. It builds a negative penny. Just take a moment to think about that. Every time you help somebody, every time you do something good, it builds a bit of negative energy in you. You help a second person. Maybe one of your coworkers is having a bad day, or a patient is in a terrible mood, and you invest everything to cheering them up. Takes pennies. What happens? Well, for a lot of people, particularly caregivers, by the end of the day, they end up having 8, 9 negative pennies and only 1 or 2 positive pennies, if that. Now, in the same way that when you have 10 positive pennies, you're naturally compassionate, you're naturally caring, you can naturally love and collaborate with people, you're close to your team. When you have negative pennies, your natural inclination is to fight people around you. When somebody says something, your natural inclination is to take it wrong, to find offense. Somebody offers a bit of constructive criticism and you lose it. You have no capacity to think deeply. Because remember, those deep qualities of gratitude and compassion and deep thinking take up to 50% of your body's blood sugar. So when you're spent and you're tired, you don't have the ability to process deep thought. Everything you think about is going to be an assumption. You're going to be jealous, you're going to fight, and you're just going to be a terrible person to be around. Now, this is where this gets difficult, because for most of you, for most of us who are caregivers who look after the people around us, we start the day with 10 positive pennies. We're feeling great. We go out into the world and we help a patient, we help a coworker, we help a friend, we help everybody all day long. And then what happens? We get home, the positive pennies are gone. There's no more compassion, there's no more love, there's no more ability to connect. All we have is anger, anxiety, jealousy, and a predisposition to take things wrong. So who ends up getting the negative pennies? Who ends up getting our negative energy? Well, it's the people we care about most, right? It's our kids, it's our loved ones, it's our family, it's our parents. Because you're such a good person through the entire day, what ends up being left over is something that's dark and not the best version of yourself. You see, when you have good pennies, when you have energy that's been stored up, you're naturally the best version of yourself. Once you get to around 6 positive pennies and 4 negative, it starts to be that you can go off the deep end. People can start to annoy you, especially if it's somebody you have a pre-existing relationship with, somebody who's just been a jerk for a long time. You see them, you just, instantly rage. From 6 positive pennies down to having maybe 4 or 5 positive pennies, so that mid-range of the day, basically you're going to be reactive to what's around you. So If a positive person comes into the room, you'll probably be positive with them. If the patient is nice, you'll probably treat them well. If your boss is a good guy or gal, you're going to treat them well. When you're in the middle energy range, you end up just being reactive. Whatever is happening to you in the moment is going to be how you're feeling. But once you get to the point where you have 7 or more negative pennies and 3 or 4 positive pennies, you're a powder keg. Something bad is going to happen. You're not going to be able to control your temper. You're not going to be able to control your responses. You're not going to be able to think deep, and you're not going to be a good person to be around. So the first step with this program is to start to understand where your energy is going. Because like we mentioned at the beginning, humans don't have a gas gauge. If you looked at your tank, a lot of you are from California area, and you look at your car and you've got about 1/8 of a tank of gas, you're not going to hop in your car and go for a road trip to Vegas because you're not going to make it, right? What we need you to start doing for the first part of this program is understand how much gas you have in the tank, and then start to pick your tasks so that they're appropriate for the amount of energy you have. What are the things that take deep energy? It's collaborative thought. So a lot of people in medicine, they like to put their meetings at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. So you got a bunch of people who are tired, grumpy, burnt out, ready to fight, and you're going to put them in a room. It's ridiculous. When you have no pennies, learn to shut your system down and stop giving any more. Find things to do that are easier, that don't take as much compassion, that don't take as much gratitude, that don't take as much caring when you're burnt out. Because what's going to happen is if you don't have the energy to support those actions, you're going to end up saying and doing things that you don't want to. Now, one thing that unfortunately humanity is very familiar with is debt. You know, they say that when kids are little, the things that they worry about most about is being broke in their life, you know, being at a spot where they don't have any money. And then you get to be an adult and you realize that you can go shooting right past zero. And sometimes in your 30s, you only wish you could be broke again, get rid of all that debt. Well, that is a lot the way it works with our pennies. So unfortunately, once you spend your 10 pennies, it's not like your system just shuts down. What it starts doing is going into debt. And, you know, like I say, your mouth is cashing checks, your body can't cash, something like that. That's what starts to happen. So if you work hard all day, you're a compassionate caregiver, you help people, and at the end of the day, you have no positive pennies left, all you have is negativity, and you keep pushing and you keep helping people, what ends up happening is you go into penny debt. And you can do this for a couple of days. You can overwork yourself, and at the end of the day, there's no issue for it. But if you overwork yourself 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row, 2 weeks in a row, a year in a row, what ends up happening is your body says, look, you're spending too much energy, I'm going to shut you down. And what it starts to do is it communicates with your endocrine system, and it starts producing less and less chemicals for energy every day to try and get you to take a break. If you go over your penny limit day in, day out, you're going to burn out your endocrine system, you're going to get shut down, and you're going to be given less and less energy every day. So what do we need to do for this one? Well, again, find yourself 10 pennies or some sort of application that works on it to count up to 10. And for the next couple of weeks, try and realize what takes your energy every day. Which people drain you? Which activities drain you? Then you're going to know how to save energy, and then later on we're going to look at how to build it up. But for right now, just notice what is taking the gas out of your tank and record it with the pennies. So At the end of every one of these little videos, I'm going to post the video on the learning management system with the link that was in the email. And then you can watch it at any other time. And then every week, there's going to be a much shorter review video that's somewhere between 4 to 6 minutes that goes over the main points. Because with your schedule, there's no way you're going to find time to watch a stinking half-hour YouTube video at some point later on in the week. So we're going to send you very precise, shortened versions of it that you can watch so that in 4 to 5 minutes, you can remind yourself of everything that we learned, and then we can practice on it together. On the learning management system, there's a section for you to comment. Ask any questions you want. Think about anything you can think of. Same thing with the Facebook group. If you're on Facebook, join that. We've got 3 people from our team that are going to be in the group. We can answer questions. We can go back and forth with you, give you any extra help you need. Because at the end of the day, what we want to do is make this as easy as possible for you to learn some simple ways to regulate your energy and to become a stronger person. So we got about 10 minutes left, and I've got the text column open here. Any questions that you have for me on this? Any clarifications that you want while we're still on here live? How can you start your day with the right amount of pennies in your pocket? That's a great question. And this is different for every person. So right now, in your body system, so if you were to take your liver function, kidney function, your endocrine system, the limbic system, everything how it's working, there's literally about 100 million variations for each person in how they are to each moment and how they feel. So with 100 million variables, there's no way to prescribe it. But what it takes is you realizing what makes you stronger in the morning and what makes you stronger at night. So for me, it's getting some good food before bed. So I've got the nutrition to recover, not drinking too much. That one knocks you down. Getting a good night's sleep and having a system for shutting my head off at night. I'm a little bit neurotic, as those who know me. I read like 4 to 5 hours a day, and I'm always processing stuff. So I got to shut my brain off. So in the morning, I'm feeling better. Any other questions? I guess not. So if you haven't already done this, take a moment to find the LMS. This video is going to be posted up there in about a half an hour. We've got a summary video that's only 5 minutes long that explains the basics of the 10 penny capacity program. That'll be released this afternoon. And join us on Facebook. Let's go through anything you need. We're going to be there for you. Any books that we recommend to use along with this? Yeah, a great group of work is done by the Human Performance Institute. They were a group that focused on CEO and executive energy. They got their start working with athletic stars, but they were bought recently by Johnson & Johnson to train all of their executive team. So it's the Johnson & Johnson Human Performance Institute, and they have a number of books that they release on that are really great on energy management and how to peak that. Oh, sorry, Jared, I missed you there. Why does helping somebody reduce your pennies? So when 2 people connect deeply, their energies combine. So if you have somebody that's in a really bad state and they're maybe at a 2 penny state and you go in at a 7, what ends up happening is in order to bring them up, your energies equalize. So you're giving your strength to them in order to lift them up. And that gift of your energy to connect with them and to make them feel better takes something out of you. So anytime you really deeply connect with somebody at a core level, you have to engage several different parts of your brain. And when you do that, what ends up happening is you burn an intense amount of blood sugar and an intense amount of mental energy in order to have that connection. Now, this isn't true for everybody. It's only true for people who are compassionate and empathetic. So I'm sure you've had some people on your team that they'll go in and talk to a patient and they try and encourage them, they try and empathize and make them feel better, and it doesn't work. That's because there's somebody who isn't able to connect deeply with another human to raise them up. So this is where it's unfortunate, is all of your people that are the absolute best at making others feel good, all the ones who are able to deeply connect with patients and coworkers, are the ones who end up being burnt out the fastest, because basically what they're doing is giving their strength to the other person to make them stronger. Any other questions? Jared, we're going to go over that one a little bit more in a video that'll come out in about a week, because that one is that's a real topic, and specifically for people like yourself in EMS leadership, it's huge, because the entirety of your staff is all day going into situations where they're giving of themselves like that. Well, looks like that's all there is for questions. Join up on Facebook. Ask us any questions you want. We're going to have people there to answer questions. And then there's going to be summary videos on the LMS. Thanks so much for taking a part of your weekend. I know you're busy. I know that there's a lot of things you could have been doing, but we're happy you joined us and we're excited to be working with you this year. You have a great day.